Hello, my name is Sarah Thompson Moore. I've been working with the Office of Arts and Culture and Seattle Public Utilities as the artist selected for the Alki Pump Station 38 renovations that will be taking place along the Alki Trail in West Seattle. I created this video to introduce myself and the concept for this artwork, and also to share with you how the design has developed since our introductory video that went out in October of last year. A little bit about myself and my background in the arts. I grew up in Eastern Oregon and Northern Idaho, and I currently live with my family in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, which is about a 6-hour drive from Seattle. I'm also a member of the Cow Creek Band of Umpqua Tribe of Indians in southwestern Oregon, and I consider myself a regional artist of the Pacific Northwest. My development as an artist has been lifelong. I spent a number of years working as a bronze foundry artisan and alongside other regional sculptors through internships and my foundry work. My studies have also taken me to Florence, Italy, and I eventually obtained a degree in sculpture from the Pennsylvania Academy of the Fine Arts in Philadelphia. I've created public art for New York City's Riverside Park South along the Hudson River and Van Cortlandt Park in the Bronx, New York, and I have sculptures located on the Florida Keys Sculpture Trail. More recently, I've had opportunities to work on cultural and historical art projects with my own tribe, and I just finished a sculptural installation along the Spokane River that was developed with the consultation and approval of the Spokane Tribe of Indians, as it's located on their ancestral fishing grounds. Having lived most of my life in rural and mountainous areas of the Northwest, I'm a nature enthusiast, and I prefer to design public works that exist within a natural setting. My artwork centers on themes of nature and contemplation, history and culture, and collaboration. This Alki Pump Station 38 renovation has been the perfect opportunity to further explore these themes in my work. A number of themes arose in my research and site observations on Alki. Of particular interest to me is the natural history of the area before European settlement and the changes that have occurred since then. These themes, I feel, tie full circle into the present use of the site as a pump station, which is part of an underground network laboring to divert waste pollution from the waterways. I also discovered a topographical map from 1894 of the area, which my design is modeled from. The map describes West Seattle's terrain as it existed in the earlier years of settlement, when the land was still largely undeveloped and untouched by what was to come. The lines on the map are visually striking to me, and they remind me of varying layers to the story of Alki. The lines resemble to me tree rings, which symbolizes the progression of time, and also ties into the history of the ancient western red cedar forests that once existed on Alki and were very important to the way of life of the native people. The lines also remind me of shellfish, which is a significant area of food source that is no longer edible in many cases due to pollution of the waterways, such as the Duwamish River. The lines, too, resemble ripples in the water, which to me symbolizes cause and effect, and the water being the main source of food and travel for indigenous cultures. We know water is vital for all life and is additionally the reason for the existence of this pump station. And finally, the lines to me resemble fingerprints, which also cause me to think about how I would like to leave my own mark on this planet. So in these ways, I see the topographical map as both a literal and a figurative interpretation of the story of Alki. Essential to that story is also the history and culture of the native inhabitants of this land. Pictured here is my initial concept rendering for this artwork. I have been working to implement some exciting materials and techniques that will be reactive to lighting conditions and weather, and that will fit within the concrete pad planned for the pump station. I want the artwork to both integrate into and respond to the surrounding environment in subtle ways, and I believe that this will create a bit of magic and provide a unique experience with each visit. We continue to work with SPU and arts to determine the options that will best observe anti-slip standards for maximum longevity and low maintenance. As of now, I plan to use integral dye within the concrete and a material that adds subtle shimmer to the surface. Much of the colored areas will be created as mosaic with iridescent and light reactive tiles throughout. Additionally, I will be creating stencils to sandblast map lines and patterns onto the surface. As shown in this illustration, the design has progressed since our last informational video. The community feedback that I received during our public outreach survey has been really valuable, and I believe it has helped to further shape and strengthen the artwork. Based on the feedback, I was able to affirm several directions for this project, and I have also taken the opportunity to re-envision others. The largest portion of the community responses I received were favorable to a color palette that would include a mixture of both vibrant and natural colors. And I'm encouraged by this and am working to achieve the right balance of colors that will integrate well into the natural surroundings and also carry traces of the more vibrant colors provided by a beautiful sunset or the lushness of springtime, for example. Another design adjustment regarding color: the sidewalk itself will contain a simplified version of the line work and patterns, and it will not include color. This is meant to more clearly define the sidewalk path to assist those with sight or mobility challenges. And all of the artwork materials chosen will provide ADA accessibility for anyone visiting the site. I have also been working to hone in on a stronger balance between the abstract and the tangible natures of this work in order to allow for more levels of engagement and greater accessibility. You may have noticed that some changes have occurred to the overall layout. Most notably, the boundary of the topographical map has increased. This adjustment will now allow visitors to find their location on the map, and it also brings the surrounding water masses into the artwork. One will now follow the Duwamish River as it winds down the sidewalk path. I feel that this change more clearly connects the installation to the theme of water and will provide the opportunity for visitors to situate themselves within the map and to engage more fully with the artwork and the story of Alki. An essential aspect to the story of Alki is the area's native peoples and their relationship to the land and the waterways surrounding West Seattle. I was encouraged to find that exploring this connection was also deeply important to many of the community respondents who live on Alki. I have reached out to and have been in communication with area tribes for this portion of the project, and I have been able to further explore how that relationship will tie into the artwork. There are two main methods being developed for integration into the design. One is to incorporate cultural markers within the topographical map, which would indicate important historical village sites and locations of vital cultural resources, past or present. These locations will be identified on the map with their Lachute seed names. Secondly, we are working to identify tribe-specific patterns, such as those that were traditionally woven within cedar basketry. The designs will then be engraved as patterns within the shapes of the topographical map. Furthermore, the on-site utility box will act as an interpretive key to the overall installation. The utility box will incorporate information about the patterns and cultural marker locations within the map, as well as pronunciation guides for their Lachute seed names. Text and imagery will be printed on a vinyl material to be seamlessly adhered to the utility box. While the main installation is meant to be open to and encourage interpretation, the utility box will provide the necessary context about the history of the site as it relates to the artwork and these varying layers to the story of Alki. A new addition since our last update: SPU has determined that municipal code requires a safety railing at the edge of this newly renovated pump station, and I've been given the opportunity to assist in the design of this railing. Incorporating the community's feedback to minimize obstruction of the amazing views along Alki Trail, while also providing the safety required for both pathgoers and maintenance workers. My goals are to create a railing system that is minimal and unobtrusive in nature and that ties into the ground plane artwork in an eloquent way. We are exploring the use of stainless steel mesh panels. These will be both see-through in order to preserve the views and etched to extend the map design from the ground plane up into vertical space, creating the look of a transparent map overlaying onto the landscape, in this case, over the waters of Elliott Bay. The effect of this material is quite beautiful, and it is in keeping with other material choices for this artwork in that it is responsive to the environment, allowing the etched imagery to change from dramatic to subtle depending upon how the light is hitting it at any given time and position. Through the use of native plantings and other natural materials, SPU's design team is also working to create transitional landscaping from the grassy shoreline to the pump station platform. This will soften the edges of the concrete pad and further integrate the pump station and the artwork into the existing site. I continue to work toward the principal goals for this artwork, which are to create an accessible and engaging space for visitors to encounter themes relating to the history, culture, and ecological aspects of this site, to tell a layered story of the remarkable place that is Alki, and to provide something for every new visitor to connect with while still leaving more to be discovered for those who visit often. For further information on the project and to provide feedback, please go to the link listed here. And I would like to conclude with a heartfelt thank you for your interest in this journey and for being a part of the process.